Hello, and welcome to our Accelerate workshop for businesses looking to expand into the UK. I'm Tamara Ecker, Managing Director for British American Business and President of the British American Business Network. For those of you not familiar with British American Business, we are the leading trade association exclusively supporting businesses with operations in both the US and the UK markets. And BAB Accelerate is our targeted business networking community, offering insights and connections for middle market companies, growth businesses, and startups looking to establish a transatlantic footprint. This series of virtual on-demand workshop sessions will offer you insights across a variety of areas critical to setting up businesses in the UK, including tax planning and VAT, talent management and acquisition, and legal considerations for doing business in the UK. We will also run through a quick speed round summary of immigration considerations. Lastly, a very big thanks to JetBlue for helping make this series possible.
My name is Nicholas Barton. I am the founder and the CEO of the Barton Partnership. I've been asked to present to members of the British American Business Association around talent acquisition and management for the UK market. I sit on the board of British American Business. I represent the SME community. I've been a member of BAB for a few years now. But I'm also in a position where I've been running, I founded and run a global search firm with offices in the UK, the US, and in Asia as well. But quickly about the Barton Partnership, just for those that haven't come across my company before, we specialize purely in strategy and M&A, data and analytics, ESG and sustainability and transformation and change. Fundamentally, we focus on placing individuals with a consulting background and skill set into corporates, FTSE listed, blue chip, Fortune 500 companies, banks, private equity firms, SMEs, global consulting houses, right across the globe. And so I, as a founder of a business that launched a proposition in the US, and fundamentally run an SME, I'm extremely well placed, not only as a recruiter to talk about this, but also as a business owner as well that's launched a new proposition. In my time, I've got 24 years of recruitment experience. I used to have a lot more hair when I started, I can promise you. I've completed over 300 searches now, globally, senior mandates. As an individual, I've been shortlisted 3 times as Recruitment Entrepreneur of the Year and Recruitment Leader of the Year in 2000. And as I said previously, I was elected to the board of British American Business in 2018. And I sit as a member of the Accelerate Committee, which again looks to assist and support organizations, SMEs that are looking to grow. So let's talk about recruitment in the UK. And there is a framework to this presentation, which I'll go through. So first question is, what are the best strategies when approaching the recruitment market in the UK? Well, fundamentally, again, for those that haven't come across the UK market before, haven't recruited in the UK market, the benefit of recruiting in the UK is that you are recruiting into perhaps the most mature recruitment market in the world. And by that, I mean from a recruitment company point of view. There are over 6,000 recruitment businesses in the UK. And in fact, there are more recruitment businesses in and around London than there are in the whole of Germany, which is Europe's largest economy. So just to give you an understanding that, there are recruitment businesses for every single aspect of every industry you can possibly imagine, from CEOs all the way down to toilet cleaners. There are niche specialist recruiters covering every aspect of every industry in the UK. So, first and foremost, you are extremely well positioned to hire in the UK simply through recruitment businesses. 2 associations that monitor the industry in the UK. One is ABSCO and the other one is the REC. The difference between the two, ABSCO tends to be more focused on recruitment businesses that serve the white collar market. The REC tend to focus on much more of the blue collar industry in the UK. These are associations that track and endorse and support best practice when it comes to recruitment businesses. So if you are new to the UK recruitment market, and if you do identify a UK recruiter, ideally they would be aligned to one of these associations. That doesn't mean if they're not that they are a bad recruitment firm, but it is a term of endorsement. And so, as a business, we are aligned to ABSCO, for example. The second way then to best approach the recruitment market is advertising. And again, sort of the two key platforms for that, LinkedIn is extremely prominent in the UK and a fantastic source for advertising. And the second platform is Indeed, which is a more generic recruitment platform that one can use. But certainly LinkedIn is probably the most prominent one from a UK perspective. So I would certainly consider that. And let me just switch my printer off. Thank you very much. Right. What are the challenges facing the UK market right now? Well, I've listed 5 here at the moment, and in no particular order or prominence, but I'll go through these 5 right now. I think first and foremost, at the top left-hand corner, salary increases seems to be one of the biggest challenges. Certainly post-COVID now, as I'm sure you've experienced in the United States, the UK recruitment market has gone through a significant period of growth that has led to a candidate shortage. And so it's very much a candidate-led market at the moment where individuals are going for a premium. As a result of that, various industries, namely consulting and the legal industry and the banking industry, have all dramatically increased their salary bandings within the organizations. And you're now dealing with candidates that are seeing a potential increase of anywhere between 25 to 50% on base salary alone in terms of expectations going forward. So, certainly there is definitely a challenge when it comes to salary and compensation right now and the availability of candidates. Secondly, then ESG I've listed here, and the DE&I challenge as well that organizations are facing going forward. So these are 2 points that, again, organizations are still coming to grips with and looking to define their own individual strategies. So again, as an organization looking to hire, if you are going out to market looking to recruit and do not have a defined strategy, policy, or even statement around these 2 aspects, again, a lot of candidates now are very much driven more so by the corporate agenda of the business and certainly the senior leadership team rather than necessarily the compensation of the offer itself. So again, making sure you've got a clear, coherent policy around these 2 aspects is extremely important when it comes to hiring. Equally, flexibility as well. Clearly, in a post-COVID world now, flexibility has become a more prominent part of our working life. As a business ourselves, pre-COVID, we were 5 days a week in the office, serving, working from 8:30 to 6. Post-COVID now, we are 3 days in the office, and it's a 9 to 5 environment. And we've given individuals a lot more flexibility, which I have to say, we've seen a positive response to. And certainly productivity hasn't diminished as a result of that. Engagement has definitely gone up. But again, offering that level of flexibility, offering balance, which is important, has been a critical part of making the proposition more attractive to candidates in the market. And again, organizations that have not adapted from that perspective have certainly struggled to hire and make sure that they've secured the right individual. And then, last week, this presentation looked slightly different to the one it is today, following the budget announcement last week in the UK. There's been a number of changes that have gone through, all of which I have to say are positive in some regard. Whether my children will agree with that long term, that's a different discussion. But certainly the budget announcement last week has massively boosted companies' ability to retain and attract talent. Equally, new business investment coming in as organizations now, the UK government is very much geared towards attracting organizations to establish and set up in the UK. So there are various initiatives now, tax saving initiatives, which I would ask all of you to look into, or certainly get your accountants to look into now, because as a result of last week, there are certainly some new policies in place now which would enable you as businesses to establish yourself in the UK in a more tax efficient, low cost way. One of the biggest changes was around IR35. IR35 was a policy that restricted to a certain extent individuals from working on a freelance basis. It had to be done through a statement of work. That has now been repealed, and that will be removed from the 6th of April 2023. That effectively puts control back into the contractor, the interim contractor, to define their own working schedule. That will enable organizations to attract a broader range of candidate now on an interim basis. So that really does change the market quite dramatically. So, challenges that are facing the market, I think right now, I think, as I've listed here, salary increase is definitely one. Organizations that haven't defined their policy around ESG, DE&I, organizations that don't have a flexible balance policy, and also now with regard to IR35 and some of the government changes now, make sure you're up to speed on those. So what are the types of benefits UK employees are looking for? Well, clearly, obviously, the ones in red are pretty standard globally, not just for the UK. So obviously, salary, as I've mentioned before, is a key driver. Bonuses. There is an expectation, certainly in the private sector, that there'll be a yearly bonus. In some cases, depending on the level that you're hiring, LTIP, so long-term incentive plans, are certainly part and parcel of UK incentive schemes in the UK. We do have a car allowance scheme in the UK. This enables an employee to hire a car through the company in a more tax-efficient way. And then there are EMI schemes, so enterprise initiative schemes. As a business owner, I have an EMI scheme in place. They are options over shares, so it's not pure equity, it's options over shares, and as a business owner, it's a fantastic retention tool. It's extremely tax efficient, not only for you but also for the individual that you're incentivizing, and it is very much geared towards the potential of an event. So as a business owner, if you are looking to float or exit the business at some stage, if there's going to be an event, a sale, then this is particularly appealing and a great lock-in tool for individuals in the business, and one that I have within my company. Other benefits, obviously, as I mentioned before, healthy work-life balance, generous time off. Again, as an example, for my company, we offer unlimited holiday. This was something that Richard Branson introduced to the Virgin Group and worked very well. I then adopted it, and as have many companies in the UK. And I have to say, it does work really well. The biggest challenge for me as a business owner, we were offering 30 days holiday, and we tended to get to December, and still a lot of people hadn't taken a vast majority of their holiday time. And therefore, in December, we were seeing, quite a large number of individuals take the balance of their holiday, and that impacted the start of their following year. So again, having people have ownership over their holiday through unlimited holiday has enabled people to balance their holiday and feel less pressured to take the entirety off. And look, some people take less than 30 days, some people take more. It's given them a lot more ownership and autonomy over managing their time, and they enjoy that. Flexible working arrangements, again, in this virtual world that we live in now, the need to actually be office-based has dramatically changed. Again, as a business owner, we have been growing our proposition in the US. Pre-COVID, it was very much around building an office in New York. Post-COVID now, it doesn't matter where the individual's placed, and I've been hiring people in Chicago, Charlottesville, in Austin, etc. So, the days of actually having to be office-based necessarily have changed. So flexible working arrangements. Again, in the UK, we have employee paid health insurance, so through private health schemes like BUPA and PPP. Generous retirement saving plans, so pension plans as well. We have parental leave, reproductive and family planning support. So again, these are all additional benefits that you can have. They're not mandatory by any chance. I have to say a lot of these are discretionary. And then sabbatical opportunities, again, as a business owner, we offer now sabbaticals to employees after 5 years to take at least a month, if not 2 months off, to go traveling. That has been extremely well received. They come back refreshed, re-engaged, re-energized. And so that seems to have worked very well as well. So these are the sorts of benefits that you will see. The ones in red are the typical ones that you'll get in most companies. Types of language then that should be used, or you would want to use in job postings and in job descriptions. So down the left side here, company background. I mean, these are the obvious points of reference, regardless of whether it's in the UK or the US. But company background, job type, job description and responsibilities who they report to, so the reporting line, qualifications and experience needed, the perks and the benefits, information about the application process. Again, a lot of firms leave that off, but I find that very beneficial just to give people clear line of sight around what a process will look like and who they'll meet, the contact information, and also a deadline. Typically, a lot of people don't put a deadline in, even though there is one within the business, and subsequent people will continue to apply without realizing that they've missed the opportunity to apply. And then on the right side here, some examples of opportunity of language seen or we've used in the past. Again, positive, positive, enthusiastic, not oversells it. And I think that's the key point with this, is that you're not overselling the proposition. The company and the role itself should sell itself, but again, ample opportunities to learn and grow from annual professional development allowances, on-site training, and with visiting experts. Again, we'll talk about this, but candidates today want to know that they can grow within the business, both professionally and personally. So anything you can do to support that, and there are various sites available now. Again, as an example, we've allowed subscriptions now to Udemy, which are training and education sites, to Calm, which is a spiritual meditation site as well. So, again, giving opportunity to grow as individuals, I think, is really important, and a commitment to creating a diverse and inclusive workplace that enables everyone to bring their full self to work and make a positive impact on the world. Again, the generation that we're working with now, this is what they want to see. And of course, as organizations grow and develop and progress, this is important to everyone. And so again, positive statements around your commitment as a business leader, as an organization, to develop and work with individuals to grow, I think is really important as well. So positive, genuine opportunities to grow as a business and as individuals, I think are critical in any job descriptions, any job language that you put through as well. So DE&I and positioning the organization for genuine DE&I strategies. So yeah, again, with some of this, it's going to be dependent on the individual and the organizations. What I've listed here is an example of our strategy and what we've done as a business ourselves. And I think this is very useful just in terms of understanding, again, what we've done as a business and how potentially that could work for you as an SME business. So step one for us as an organization, the Barton Partnership, was to identify the need to get this topic on the strategic agenda and bring awareness of the DE&I importance and the benefits to the business and customers. This led us to engage with a DE&I training provider and enabled all of our leaders across the business to increase their knowledge on the subject. Because again, there was a lack of understanding around what this actually meant and how truly do we engage it in the business. So it was important that this was on our strategic agenda. Again, I have a board, a main board, and then I have a secondary operating board that drive and lead the business on a day-to-day. It was important for me as a business owner and leader that these two were aligned. And so really making sure that this was number one on our strategic agenda was critical. Step two then was to bring in tech. And I'll talk about this down the line, but we brought in an internal platform called BAB to effectively measure our baseline internal DE&I data. And then using this data, we could create our own charter, clearly defining targets to work towards through hiring with diversity at the forefront of our practices, development and career opportunities, again, open to all. One thing I firmly believe in as a business leader is that there's no smoke and mirrors when it comes to career progression. Career progression in my business is based on merit, not on tenure, and that there are no glass ceilings, and that we are in a position where we can create opportunity for all, regardless of level or experience. And then step three clearly is bringing in specialists, and so over the last couple of weeks we've been engaging with two DE&I specialists in order to develop a program of events that will enable us to really evaluate the skills of our employees globally going into next year. And again, my contact details at the end, if you do want the details of any DE&I specialists, certainly, whilst I wouldn't necessarily recommend them because we haven't used them yet, I can certainly provide details of two firms that we've identified that could support you as well. So that was an example of what we've done as a business, as an SME, to really define and improve our positioning around DE&I. So what is the typical hiring life cycle and what do timelines generally look like? Well, the simple answer to that is how long is a piece of string? And by that, I mean, there is no one answer that will fit any organization. I think critical points to note here is that no two processes are ever the same, either within an organization or comparing to organizations. What is key, though, is that you do keep momentum in any hiring process and that there is open communication between you and the employee. We have a saying in the recruitment industry that time kills all deals. So again, momentum is absolutely crucial. It keeps the candidate engaged, enthused. It shows that you are bought into them and you are keen on them, and that open communication, is absolutely critical. It is important and critical again that you manage expectations. If you are interviewing other people, be transparent around that. If there is going to be a delay, again, be open around what delay there is and what impact that could have on a prospective process as well. Notice periods in the UK vary between 1 month to 6 months. Again, it is different to the US, so do be mindful of that. And again, if you are looking to build a team in the UK, I strongly recommend that you engage with employment lawyers, UK employment lawyers. Again, we do work with 2 or 3 in the UK. My contact details will be at the end of this presentation. If you do want any recommendations, do let me know. But if you are hiring for the first time in the UK, I think it's critically important that you are aware of the legal legislations around hiring, because they do differ to the US, of course. But with regard to a hiring life timeline, there is no specific right or wrong. It needs to be specific to your company and your process. I would say, momentum is crucial. In my experience now, a typical process tends to be 3 to 6 stages, 3 to 6 interviews. They might include a case study interview where you test their skills and capability. It might include psychometric testing, depending on the level. Again, there are various psychometric testing firms that can provide that level of support. Again, if you want any recommendations, do drop me an email. I can provide details of those. But no one process is the same. It has to be specific to your organization. Building a network. So perhaps the biggest challenge with regard to the UK market is, and the key distinction that I see between the UK and the US is the lack of alumni networks. I think one of the most amazing things about recruiting in the US is the strength and depth of the alumni networks across the US, be it universities, be it business schools, be it consulting firms. The US market really, in terms of the alumni network, is fantastic. Unfortunately, from a UK perspective, it's not quite as strong. So how do you build a network in the UK when you have that challenge? Well, again, LinkedIn is probably the most critical source for networking. The majority, I would say 80–90% of the UK professional network is listed or registered on LinkedIn. So it's a fantastic source and point of reference in the UK market. If you're hiring at the graduate level, if you're looking to hire individuals straight out of university, then there are 2 websites that are very strong for that. Milkround and Prospects are probably 2 of the strongest websites and platforms for hiring graduates straight out of university. These individuals are less likely to be on LinkedIn. So again, I would use LinkedIn certainly for experienced or seasoned individuals, typically individuals with at least 18 months plus work experience, having come out of university. For those straight out of university, then Milkround and Prospects are the 2 key platforms to hire graduates. In terms of then alumni networks, London Business School, Oxford, the Saïd Business School, and the University of Cambridge, the Judge Business School, have very strong alumni networks from a UK point of view. There are others. I've listed perhaps the top 3. These are top 10 global business schools. They have very strong alumni networks. Again, here you will find more seasoned, experienced individuals rather than individuals straight out of university. And then consulting firms, McKinsey, Bain and BCG have very strong alumni platforms. They have job vacancy platforms as well. So you are able, regardless of whether you are a former employee of these consulting firms, they have ability for you to post jobs on their job platform, which will go out to their alumni networks only. So if you're looking to attract anyone with a consulting background or skill set, well, firstly, I would talk to my company. Obviously, I'm going to say that. But in the event that you want to go direct, then McKinsey, Bain and BCG will allow you to post jobs for free on their website. Equally, London Business School has a job posting site as well. You can post on their site. For LinkedIn, there is a cost that comes with that, but with the alumni sites for London Business School and the consulting houses, it's free of charge. So let's move on to vetting then. So question here around vetting: how do you create and maintain a consistent and streamlined candidate vetting process? Well, here are some obvious, well, I say obvious, they're obvious to me. Hopefully you can see that as well. One stakeholder within your business should manage and coordinate the process from start to finish. Where I see processes fall down, and it does still happen, is that where you have multiple stakeholders running a single process at any one time, it causes confusion, it causes delay. And as I mentioned in my previous slide, those are the two things that can kill any process, and certainly any candidate's enthusiasm for a company or an individual. If you do have an HR point of contact, human resources point of contact, a chief people officer, they should own the process. If you're working with any external recruiters, I would strongly recommend, certainly in the UK market, that you only work with 1 or 2 per any vacancy at any one time. The challenge with working with any more than 1 or 2, well, more than 2, is you start diluting your brand in the market, the company's brand in the market, because you've got a number of companies selling in a slightly different way your proposition, the company's proposition in the marketplace. Equally, the danger is they start speaking to the same candidates. And again, you know, that can obviously have a negative impact on your brand because it doesn't show alignment. If you place an advert on any website, always caveat it. And by that, I mean, always caveat the fact that you will only respond to the people whose profile matches the job. Again, you know, having placed jobs on LinkedIn before for my company, you will get several hundred responses typically. And I would say about 60 to 70% of those will be individuals that just will not be relevant for the opportunity. You know, you will get a lot of random job adverts. Again, I've had, as I've said before, I've had toilet cleaners send applications in for jobs that simply just wasn't relevant for their experience or skill set. And so what I always place on my jobs is I will put a line at the bottom saying that we will only respond to those whose applications match the requirements of that we've listed then. And then using a CRM system to track applications, process and feedback. So again, it depends on the size of your business and how much recruitment you're looking to do, whether you want to incur the cost of doing that. Equally, if you are a small business or only looking to hire a small number of people, Excel is perfectly suitable. So using an Excel spreadsheet is perfectly suitable. However, if you're looking to hire a significant number of people and grow a presence, then a CRM platform is a very strong platform to use. Salesforce. So as a recruitment business, we use Bullhorn for Salesforce. So that's a Salesforce-based recruitment platform. Salesforce in its own right has its own CRM system itself. And again, that gives access to all key stakeholders within the business to track and monitor performance. They themselves will be able to put feedback into that system that you will be able to see as the stakeholder managing a process that you can feed back to the candidate. So, if you are looking to create a streamlined system, these are my top tips. Keeping one person managing the process, working with only 1, maybe 2 headhunters at any one time, caveating any job description that you will only respond to those that come back to you that have a relevant profile for the position you're looking to hire, and having a CRM system as well. So how do you incorporate company culture into a vetting process? That's a great question. Again, talking from experience and talking as a business ourselves, I've got over 90 people working across 6 offices globally. So how have I ensured that when I walk into any of my offices, that it feels like a Barton partnership team, that they represent the cultures of the business, that they represent me and how I represent the business? The cultures of my business, the three company cultures that we have are human, aware and committed, and we very much incorporate those into our interview process. We firmly believe that an assessment is a 2-way process, and that it is very important that we that with each candidate, we need to learn about them through a series of activities, starting with, asking questions at the start, looking to understand, what culture they are looking for, where they feel they would best fit, sharing with them, obviously, what our values are, as I mentioned, human, aware, committed, and how we represent them both professionally and personally, and then asking for examples of how they would represent those values in their life. How would they engage in a human and aware and a committed point of view, personally as well. Who they meet, I think, is really important. Again, it's important that they meet the leaders of the business, but also their colleagues as well, people, their peer group, both in a formal setting and an informal setting. So as part of our process, we would absolutely get them to come in and meet myself and senior leaders. As part of our process, we would ask them to do a presentation on themselves, to tell us about themselves, because let's face it, if they can't present themselves, then who can? And then, we'll take them out for some drinks and maybe a breakfast or lunch or a dinner, and look to understand a bit more about them outside of work. What are their hobbies, their interests, etc. And again, there's no one question that you're going to be able to ask that's going to be able to give you that level of insight as to whether they're going to be a cultural fit. But by incorporating, your values into an interview process, asking them to define how they would represent those values, or how do they represent those values themselves in their personal life and also potentially in their professional life, I think will be a strong indicator as to whether this individual is going to be a strong representative of your business from a cultural point of view. And then, talking about company culture, not just from an unlimited holiday, but also then, as I mentioned, the shared values, but also attitudes and practices. How do they treat other people? How do they engage themselves and other clients and candidates? And I think that's really important. So again, as an example here, as a business, we very much incorporate our values into the interview process. We ask them to really identify how those values could be represented themselves, how they share those values and how they represent themselves is really important for us. Retention then. So looking at retention now, which is really as critical as attraction. And talking about sort of the onboarding tactics, which are customary to reassuring that positive first impressions and set clear expectations from the start. Again, we tend to do intake dates. So again, as an example here, as an SME business, when we look to hire people on board, we tend to try and group them where we can. So they have a cohort, a group of individuals that they can work with, learn with, study with, and on board with. And I think, that gives people confidence, and it's a great way to start when there's a team of individuals. As an example, we've just had 5 graduates from university start at the same time, and they've built up a really cohesive team where they've all brought a different skill and a different experience to the table, and that's massively benefiting each of them around the table to improve and grow together. We have welcome meetings, and again, very much, getting to understand, who does what across the business, putting faces to names. We don't drop them in at the deep end. I think that's really important part of our business. Whilst we look to challenge them, we don't show them their desk, sit them down and say, right, here, you're on board. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few weeks. We like to challenge them, but, for us, onboarding is about giving them the time to really embed themselves in the business. They get to meet me, of course, and have the honor of meeting me. But no, that's important. I really want to get to know them, and I want them to get to know me and what drives me and what I look for in individuals. And I hate using that phrase, the open door policy, because we don't have offices, but I really want people to see me as someone that is here to help them, and that's been really important as well. We've created our own welcome pack because, again, as you can appreciate, I'm sure if you remember your first day in a company, they get to meet a lot of people straight away. A lot of names are thrown at them. Hi, I'm Tom, I'm Claire, I'm Emma, I'm Bill, and it sort of all goes in one ear and out the other. And so we've created welcome packs, and that has an org chart with pictures against people's names so they can visualize those individuals, and again, that makes them feel more included and more on board. If they've come out of university and perhaps can't necessarily afford what we would deem as to be sensible professional clothing, then we provide them clothing vouchers, book vouchers. We provide welcome cards and merchandise as well that will enable them to feel more included from day one. We don't condone single-use plastics in the office, so everyone has a logoed Barton Partnership water bottle, reusable water bottle, as an example, right? So that always makes them feel nice. We offer them a welcome lunch on their first day, again, to meet their peer group, not just the people that they're joining with, but other individuals that have gone on a similar journey over the last 12, 24 months, that they can share their experience. And then we set out a very clear onboarding and training plan that defines the first 4 weeks of their employment. Again, we've the last 15 years, we've had various iterations of an onboarding plan, and I think for us, what we've found to be the most effective is where you give clear visibility over the first 4 weeks. And by that I mean not just what they'll be doing from a day-to-day point of view, but what your expectations are going to be from them in terms of output, homework, and key objectives that you would want to see. And I think for me, that's been the most effective way to manage expectations, set the right impression of the business, and challenge at the same time to enable them to get up to speed as quickly as possible. And it all comes down to building that foundation. And I firmly believe in that. Building the right foundation in an individual enables them to progress far quicker than someone who's still winging it after 3 or 4 weeks. What is the best way to communicate with employees in the UK, and what expectations should there be for daily and weekly touch points? Again, great questions. Well, I have to say, this answer would have changed or would have been different a couple of years ago, given COVID. But certainly, best way is in-person meetings. Even with the balanced environment that we have, most of the new starters that we have within the business will actually work 5 days a week in the office for the first few weeks. It just helps them to adapt. We don't define that. We don't make that mandatory. I think they just do it as a standard part of their onboarding. So in-person meetings clearly is still the number one way to ensure that you are managing expectations, and you've got that regular human touch point. It's more reactive, clearly. We have set up various WhatsApp groups, both for social events, corporate events, charity events, but also between teams as well. And so that's been a great enabler from a communications point of view. When COVID kicked in, we rolled out a huge tech transformation project, as I'm sure many businesses did, which included Microsoft Teams. So Teams is a very strong part of our internal communication. And as I mentioned in an earlier slide, from an intranet point of view, from an internal HR training platform point of view, we've recently adopted HiBob. I can't necessarily endorse it yet, but having gone out and done a beauty parade, this is the one that came out on top. We've only just rolled it out ourselves. It seems to be doing what it needs to do, and it seems to have a positive response from the business. So I'm pleased, but certainly if you want any other recommendations, again, as always, do email me after this specifically, and I can send you some recommendations in partnership with HiBob as well. So in terms of communication, clearly in-person meetings, first and foremost, absolutely the number one, but WhatsApp, Teams, and from an intranet point of view, HiBob has been the best platform that we've come across. So how do you build out mentor programs and career development platforms? Well, I think, look, I'm a big believer in mentors and coaches. I really am. So we've always had a mentoring system in place since day one, actually. I think what was important though is identify the objectives of the mentoring program and train mentors on how to offer, effective feedback, to coach effectively and be clear on what their role is and how it differs from a manager. And I think that's really important. So it's very easy to go up someone, even with a lot of experience, and say, right, I'd like you to mentor this individual who's got very little experience. But if that individual with experience doesn't know, well, what are the boundaries here? What are the guidelines? What can I say? What guidance can I give? At what point do I advise them that I'm not the right person? So again, having that program in place, setting clear expectations is really important. Ensure that obviously, there is a match between the mentee and the mentor, that, they pass what I would call the airport test, which I'm sure you'll all be aware of. But, if you get stuck at an airport for 8 hours, is this someone you'd want to be stuck with? Are they going to get on? Ensure the feedback loop is in place to support all parties. So again, it's important that you get feedback from the mentee as much as the mentor, that they are getting from that discussion, the right level of feedback and support and coaching as well. Career development platforms, be clear on what that looks like to the business, and communicate clear paths with clarity around sort of, how you can move from one role to the next. As I mentioned earlier, I do not believe in glass ceilings. I do not believe in smoke and mirrors. As you would see when you join a bank or a consulting organization, or any professional services company, you will join a professional services company, you will have a clear plan from analyst or from junior graduate through to senior managing partner. As a business, we have a clearly defined career ladder, which shows the benefits at each level, at being at that level, both financially as an individual, but also as an individual operating that role, but also what are the expectations to get that next level of promotion. And as I said, as a business, we don't define that by timeline. I've had people that have been promoted after 6 months. Equally, I've had people promoted after 2 years. It depends on the individual, but I don't define it. But what I do have, and what we have got, is transparency. And I think that's clear, and that it is data-led decisions, not the nature of the relationship you have with the line manager. And I think that's really important. Offer training opportunities. And again, I'm a big believer in training. As a company, we massively invest in training, both using external trainers. I do a lot of training myself. So again, I think that's hugely important. And as examples, we do classroom online training, role plays. We use platforms, we have external talks. One thing I find works very well, and in this day and age, there are a lot of speakers in the market now that talk on various things. By example, we had a woman join us recently that came in and gave a talk to the floor about resilience. And she was an RAF female helicopter pilot that had crashed twice. Not through any fault of her own, I have to say, but one of the dangers of flying helicopters, especially at night at low level, are the electric cables, which are completely invisible. And she had the misfortune of hitting electric cables twice, but the fortune of surviving both. And she talked about how she overcame that and managed to sail through high stress at a very short period. And so, and a lot of people got a lot from that. And so I look to identify people to come in and give talks at least once a quarter, if not once every 6 months. But also, other external training individuals that can come in and give, an external perspective on what good should look like as well. So again, each program should be specific to the organization and to a point to the department or the division. But there are various external companies out there that provide any sort of training that you need. The UK market, again, is very, very strong when it comes to that as well. So hopefully that's given you all a fantastic insight in enabling you to build out a proposition in the UK market. As someone that's built a business from scratch in the US market, I know it can be daunting, certainly if you're not from the UK, and I'm not from the US. And so, for me, well, firstly, joining British American Business was a critical part of my success. Equally, if you are not members of BAB yet, I would strongly endorse you to join, because clearly, obviously, we are well networked in the UK in every sense of the word, both in terms of potential business contacts, but also companies that can support you in setting up in the UK. As part of our membership, we do have lawyers and accounting firms that are absolutely geared towards helping you set up in the UK. Equally, we have recruitment businesses like my own. And if you're looking for former consultants, obviously, please do reach out to me. I'll be happy to chat. Equally, as a member of BAB and as a member of the Accelerate Committee, my role here is to help members, again, look to set up. So if you have any questions on anything I've discussed, if you want any recommendations on any of the platforms I've mentioned, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help you. I hope you've enjoyed the recording today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon at the next session. Thank you very much.